You wake up. The house is quiet. The coffee brews. Steam rises. That first sip feels like comfort, focus, momentum. But before your brain fully registers the warmth, something else has already reacted. Deep beneath your ribs, your kidneys sense that coffee seconds before you did. They don't taste flavor. They don't care about aroma. They detect chemistry. And every single morning, that chemistry changes the pressure inside your body in ways most people never realize. For years, Americans have heard the same warning repeated like fact. Coffee dehydrates you. Coffee strains your kidneys. Coffee slowly damages filtration. It sounds logical. Caffeine makes you urinate more. More urination must mean water loss. Water loss must mean kidney stress. Simple, clean, wrong. Because when researchers began looking closely at actual long-term kidney outcomes, the data told a very different story. Coffee is not some fringe beverage. In the United States, it's the most consumed drink after water. More importantly, it's the single largest source of antioxidants in the Western diet. More than fruits, more than vegetables. That alone should raise a question. How can the top source of protective plant compounds also be the villain blamed for kidney decline? That contradiction is where the real story begins. To understand what's happening, you must forget the outdated image of kidneys as simple water filters. They are not passive strainers catching debris. They are high-pressure biological reactors operating every minute of your life. Nearly a liter of blood flows through them each minute. Inside are microscopic filtration units called glomeruli. These structures do not respond primarily to how much water you drink. They respond to pressure, vessel tone, and chemical signals. What doctors measure as GFR, or glomerular filtration rate, is not just a hydration number. It is a pressure signature. It reflects how forcefully blood is being pushed through delicate filtration membranes. That pressure changes constantly. It rises and falls with hormones, stress, sleep, metabolism, and vascular tension. When you drink coffee, you are not just hydrating or dehydrating, you are altering a pressure choreography. And this is where caffeine enters the stage. Not as a simple stimulant, but as a molecule that interferes with an ancient protective system inside your kidneys. There is a compound in your body called adenosine. Think of it as a guardian signal. When your kidneys detect stress, low oxygen, or excessive force, adenosine gently narrows the incoming arteriole that feeds the filter. It acts like a brake pedal, reducing pressure to prevent damage. Caffeine happens to look enough like adenosine to fit into the same receptors. But instead of activating the brake, it blocks it. When caffeine occupies those receptors, the brake is lifted. The incoming arteriole widens. More blood flows in. Pressure rises. Filtration increases. This temporary increase in GFR is called hyperfiltration. And whether that is helpful or harmful depends entirely on the condition of your kidneys before the coffee ever touched your lips. In a healthy individual with resilient vessels, that brief surge can resemble a mild workout. The kidney handles it, adapts, and returns to baseline. In someone with early kidney vulnerability, high blood pressure, or metabolic stress, that same surge can become cumulative strain, the exact same mechanism. Two completely different outcomes. That is why blanket statements about coffee miss the truth. Many people assume that if filtration increases, that must be good. Higher number, stronger kidneys. But GFR is not horsepower. It is pressure. And sustained high pressure inside microscopic filters can slowly stiffen them over years. The walls thicken. Flexibility declines, early scarring can begin silently. This process does not happen overnight. It accumulates in small, almost invisible increments. But here's where this story twists again. Coffee is not just caffeine. Inside every bean are hundreds of bioactive compounds. One of the most important is chlorogenic acid, a powerful polyphenol antioxidant. While caffeine lifts the brake and raises pressure temporarily, chlorogenic acid protects the lining of blood vessels from oxidative stress. It acts like internal armor against free radical damage. Oxidative stress is one of the major drivers of vascular stiffening. When blood vessels lose flexibility, filtration becomes unstable. Chlorogenic acid helps maintain endothelial function, preserving that flexibility. In multiple large observational studies, regular coffee consumption has been associated with lower inflammatory markers and reduced risk of chronic diseases linked to vascular damage. Now the paradox deepens. The same cup that increases filtration pressure also delivers compounds that defend the vessels experiencing that pressure. Coffee simultaneously stimulates and protects. That dual action explains why millions of Americans drink coffee daily for decades without developing kidney failure. The narrative of inevitable damage simply does not align with long-term population data. But kidney health is rarely about kidneys alone. The number one global driver of declining filtration is not dehydration. It is metabolic dysfunction. Specifically, insulin resistance. When insulin remains chronically elevated, glucose begins binding to proteins in the kidney's filtration membrane. This process, called glycation, thickens and stiffens the filter over time. Regular coffee consumption has been consistently linked to a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Large studies from U.S. institutions have shown risk reductions in the range of 25 to 30% among habitual coffee drinkers. Lower diabetes risk means lower chronic insulin exposure. Lower insulin exposure means less glycation stress on the glomerular membrane. That translates into slower long-term GFR decline. So coffee does not protect kidneys by hydrating them. It protects them indirectly by calming the metabolic storm that damages them from within. This is why the hydration myth is so misleading. The kidneys are not passive sponges drying out. They are pressure-sensitive organs responding to hormonal and vascular signals every minute. Now consider something personal. Have you ever felt your energy spike sharply after coffee? That sensation is not just mental alertness. It reflects systemic vascular change. Blood pressure shifts slightly. Heart rate may rise. Cortisol may increase. Your kidneys feel that shift immediately. They translate that stimulant wave into mechanical force across microscopic membranes. These forces are small, subtle, almost unnoticeable. But they repeat daily, and repetition is what shapes long-term biology. The rhythm of your morning coffee becomes part of the rhythm of your filtration system. The key question is not whether coffee changes GFR. It does. The question is whether that change remains adaptive or becomes cumulative stress. Here is what the broader evidence suggests. For most healthy adults without advanced kidney disease, moderate coffee intake does not accelerate kidney decline. Some studies even show a lower risk of chronic kidney disease among habitual drinkers. That outcome likely reflects the combined effects of antioxidant protection and improved metabolic markers. But context matters, dose matters, timing matters, biology matters. If caffeine arrives during high stress, when cortisol is already elevated, the pressure effect can be amplified. If sleep is consistently disrupted, nighttime kidney repair is shortened. If sugar and flavored syrups accompany the coffee, insulin spikes may undo many of the metabolic benefits. The kidney does not judge coffee morally. It responds physiologically. When you drink it in a metabolically stable environment, hydrated, rested, and without excessive sugar, the effects can remain balanced. When you layer caffeine on top of chronic stress, poor sleep, and high sugar intake, the pressure equation changes. The true story is not that coffee dehydrates and damages kidneys. It is that coffee reshapes the hemodynamic doorway controlling blood flow into them. That reshaping can function like mild exercise or like a repeated stress test, depending on internal conditions. The difference lies inside you, not inside the mug. By the end of this journey, you will see that daily coffee does not carry a single destiny for your filtration rate. It creates a temporary shift. That shift interacts with your vessels, your hormones, your genetics, and your habits. And in that interaction, the real outcome is written. In the next part, we will move deeper into stress hormones, into sleep cycles, into genetics that determine whether caffeine leaves your system quickly or lingers for hours. Because two people can drink the exact same cup and experience completely different filtration consequences. And that difference explains why coffee research often appears contradictory. The surface story is simple. Coffee in, energy up. Urine out. The deeper story is vascular pressure, metabolic regulation, antioxidant defense, and hormonal timing. Your kidneys are not victims of coffee. They are dynamic participants in how your body interprets it. And once you understand that dynamic, the fear surrounding coffee begins to dissolve. What remains is biology. And the realization that your daily cup is not a villain or a miracle, it is a signal. How your body responds to that signal determines everything. By now, you understand something most people never consider. Coffee does not simply hydrate or dehydrate. It changes pressure. It interacts with vascular tone. It influences metabolic signaling. But there is another layer that determines whether that daily surge remains harmless or quietly accumulates into strain. That layer is stress physiology. When you drink coffee, caffeine stimulates your adrenal system. One of the primary hormones released is cortisol. Cortisol is not evil, it is essential. It wakes you up. It mobilizes energy. It sharpens focus. But it also tightens blood vessels and raises systemic blood pressure. Inside the kidney, that matters. Remember what happens when caffeine blocks adenosine. The afferent arteriole widens. More blood enters the glomerulus. Filtration pressure increases. Now add elevated cortisol on top of that. Blood vessels throughout your body stiffen slightly. Systemic pressure rises. The glomerular membrane now receives a stronger force wave than caffeine alone would create. If your first cup arrives during calm conditions, after you have fully awakened and your natural cortisol peak has begun declining, the pressure shift remains moderate. But if coffee hits your bloodstream while you are already stressed, rushed, anxious, or sleep-deprived, cortisol is already elevated. That dual surge amplifies filtration pressure inside microscopic vessels designed for precision, not chaos. This is why 2 mornings can feel different, even with the same coffee. On a relaxed weekend, the cup feels smooth. On a high-stress weekday, your heart beats faster. Your hands may feel restless. Your kidneys experience that difference even if you do not consciously analyze it. The internal pressure story shifts based on emotional state. Now consider sleep. Your kidneys are not designed to filter aggressively 24 hours a day. At night, filtration slows. Blood pressure naturally declines. Cortisol drops. This period is not wasted time. It is scheduled repair. During deep sleep, microscopic stress within the glomerular membrane is restored. Cellular cleanup processes activate. Inflammation falls. Even if you fall asleep, residual caffeine can blunt the normal nighttime decline in cortisol. Caffeine lingers in circulation for many hours. It keeps the kidney in a subtle daytime state when it should be in repair mode. Slight reduction in flexibility. Filtration numbers may appear normal for years. But the underlying tissue slowly adapts to repeated pressure exposure without adequate restoration. This is where lifestyle merges with biology. Hydration before coffee can soften the initial pressure wave, allowing your body to wake naturally before caffeine reduces cortisol collision. Avoiding late afternoon intake preserves the kidney's nighttime repair cycle. These are not extreme measures. They are timing adjustments that change the hemodynamic equation. Another common concern in the United States is kidney stones. Coffee has been blamed for increasing stone risk because it contains oxalates. But large epidemiological studies show that plain coffee consumption is associated with a lower risk of kidney stones overall. Why? Because coffee increases urine volume and promotes flow, reducing crystal concentration. The problem does not usually lie in black coffee. It lies in what is added. High sugar syrups and sweetened creamers introduce fructose. Fructose metabolism increases uric acid production. Elevated uric acid can contribute to urate stone formation. Once again, the metabolic context determines the outcome more than the caffeine itself. Now we arrive at one of the most overlooked determinants of coffee's kidney impact: genetics. Inside your liver is a gene called CYP1A2. This gene produces an enzyme responsible for breaking down caffeine. Variations in this gene divide the population into fast metabolizers and slow metabolizers. Fast metabolizers clear caffeine efficiently. Blood levels rise and fall relatively quickly. The period of elevated filtration pressure is shorter. Cortisol stimulation resolves sooner. For these individuals, moderate coffee intake often remains well tolerated. Slow metabolizers experience something different. Caffeine lingers in their bloodstream for extended periods. The afferent arteriole remains influenced longer. Cortisol stimulation may persist into evening hours. These individuals often describe feeling jittery, overstimulated, or unable to sleep after even a single late cup. These sensations are not psychological weakness. They are biochemical timing differences. If you feel your heart rate climb quickly after coffee, that extended exposure translates into longer filtration stress inside the kidney. This genetic divide explains why research findings sometimes appear inconsistent. In populations with more fast metabolizers, coffee may show neutral or protective associations. In groups with higher proportions of slow metabolizers, higher intake may correlate with blood pressure elevation or cardiovascular strain. The coffee does not change. The enzyme does. Understanding this difference transforms how you approach your daily cup. Instead of asking whether coffee is universally good or bad, you consider how your body handles it. The kidney's response is inseparable from your liver's metabolism speed. Biology determines tempo. Habits determine intensity. Now integrate stress, sleep, and genetics together. Imagine a slow metabolizer who drinks strong coffee early, during a stressful morning commute, then adds another cup mid-afternoon. Cortisol remains elevated. Caffeine persists into evening. Nighttime repair shortens. Filtration pressure spikes repeat daily. Contrast that with a fast metabolizer who hydrates first, drinks moderate coffee after natural cortisol begins declining, avoids late intake, and maintains consistent sleep. The pressure surge is brief. Antioxidants deliver vascular protection. Metabolic markers improve. The kidney adapts without chronic strain. Why the phrase "coffee harms kidneys" lacks precision. Harm does not arise from the bean alone. It arises from mismatched timing, excessive dose, chronic stress layering, and individual metabolic differences. Another subtle factor involves blood pressure. For individuals with well-controlled blood pressure, moderate caffeine intake typically produces only transient increases. For those with poorly controlled hypertension, even small additional pressure waves may matter. Regular monitoring becomes essential. Objective numbers replace assumptions. If you are healthy, metabolically stable, sleeping well, and mindful of dose, moderate coffee is unlikely to erode your filtration rate. If you carry hypertension, metabolic syndrome, or poor sleep habits, adjustments matter more. Precision becomes protection. The paradox resolves here. Coffee can raise GFR briefly. It can also support long-term metabolic health. It can strain under certain conditions. It can protect under others. It is neither hero nor villain. It is a signal amplifier. What it amplifies depends on your internal state. So the final message is simple. Let biology guide your sip. Hydrate first. Time wisely. Protect sleep. Limit sugar. Monitor blood pressure. Respect your genetic sensitivity. When your habits align with physiology, your daily cup becomes sustainable. And sustainability is what preserves filtration over decades. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Individual health conditions vary, and kidney disease, hypertension, diabetes, or other medical concerns require personalized guidance from a licensed healthcare professional. Do not change medications or treatment plans based solely on this content. Always consult your physician before making significant dietary or lifestyle adjustments. Thank you for watching all the way through. See you in the next video.